Hi, you're listening to Cypher, and this is a video that I was not planning on putting together. I've been working through the Dummies book, and I've gone back over some of the theory, and I've started to see some quite interesting patterns for learning the fretboard, and I thought I'd just produce this video for my own reference going forwards. And hey, if people find it useful, then that's great. But please bear in mind that I am very much a beginner. I've got no music qualifications whatsoever. There could well be errors in this video, so please watch it under advisement, but maybe you might find something in here that helps you in your early days of learning the fretboard. So before we actually get onto the fretboard, I just want to touch very briefly on notes versus chords. Basically, notes sit on the stave and they can tell you how to play the music, so the pitch and the duration. So the pitch would be where it sits on the stave, and then the duration would be the type of note, whether that's a single beat or half beat, whatever. And that note also has a specific place on the fretboard, and that's what I was struggling with, and where I started to see these patterns when I was working through the book last night. Now, I don't want to confuse musical notes with guitar chords, because whilst a note is an individual entity, a chord consists of a set of notes. So for instance, one of the first chords that we learn is the A, which is made up of, I believe, an open F sharp, so in other words we don't play that string, a C sharp, A, E and an open B, noting that the F sharp on the sixth string, the thick one, is not actually played. And all of these notes, they are played simultaneously, or in an arpeggio they can be played sequentially. So that's the difference between the two, and in this video I'm going to be looking at more at musical notes and where they are in relation to the fretboard. So this graphic I found quite useful because it shows the pitches or the notes in relation to the open strings on the fretboard. So at the top there you've got your fretboard with your E, A, D, G, B, E. So Eddie 8, Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie, I think is the term that everybody knows. And you've got the O's, which shows that they're open. You've then got the fretboard, so you've got the strings vertically and then the frets horizontally. And then underneath you've got the staff with the notes on. And it's quite interesting, and again I didn't know this until I started to research this, that the notes actually start way off the bottom of the staff. So you know, there's quite a big range that we have to get our heads around. So then I started to look at the fretboard and where these notes actually sit on the fretboard, and there was a couple of other like little sayings, acronym type things. So the notes on the staff in between the lines are FACE, in other words face. And then the notes that actually sit on the lines from the bottom to the top is E, G, B, D, F, or Every Good Boy Does Fine. So what I'm trying to do is to get these words in my head, so when I'm looking I can see exactly what's going on. And in the graphical representation below you can see that the note sitting on the bottom line equates to an E, and then you can see in the tab exactly where to play that note on the fretboard, and it's just a single press on the string, because we're just playing one note, we're not playing a chord here. So the other thing that I had to get my head around, and this was again another graphic that I found really useful, was the note intervals and sort of the shapes and the patterns that are going on. So within music we go A, B, C, D, E, F and G, and for reasons I know not, it's actually laid out slightly differently in this graphic. But again you start to see some patterns here. So you've got a semitone which is one fret move, and then you get a tone which is 2 frets. So you might move from fret 1 to fret 3. That would be a tone, and moving from fret 1 to fret 2 would be a semitone. So then what you've got is you've got a tone, tone, space, tone, 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 and then you're back to the beginning again, so the space, and you get this pattern throughout. And the other thing as well that I found interesting is between C and D, you've got a C sharp or a D flat, which is the same note. That's why you've got this little upside down V. So it's actually the same note that you play on the fretboard. And then between D and E, you've got a D sharp and an E flat. But between E and F, you don't have a flat or a sharp. And it's the same between B and C. So if you were actually playing this and you did a C to a D, would be 2 frets down. A D to an E would be 2 frets down. Or 2 steps. I think they call it 2 steps. But going from E to F is a single step. It's 1 fret down. And the same going from B to C. So again, once you actually see these charts and this representation, then suddenly a lot of this starts to sort of make sense. So then I decided, okay, let's just start to map this out on the fretboard, because I'm thinking, yeah, crikey, for these 12 frets, and it repeats itself every 12 frets, but for these 12 frets, it's like getting on for 100 notes to learn. So I just started to sort of map things out, and then you can start to see. So if we were to take the A here, starting with A, from A to B is 1 tone or 2 frets. So the white circles are basically the open strings, and then the black circles with the white text are finger positions. So A, miss a fret, and then 2nd fret B. But then if you look on the chart below, B to C is only a semitone, it's 1 fret. So you move down 1 fret, and then 2 steps, 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, 2 steps, and it carries on. And you've got this sort of same pattern all over the fretboard. Now the other thing that I realized as well is string 1 and string 6, both these, they are exactly the same. So instead of now having 100 notes to learn, we can forget one of the strings because it's exactly the same. And then when we've learnt that one string, well, we've now learned 1/3 of our fretboard, and suddenly things are starting to get a little bit easier. And so long as you can remember Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie, or whatever story you want to have in there, then you'll know that E, and then E to F is just a semitone. So F will be on the 1st fret, and then it's 2 steps to the G, 2 steps back to the A, because remember it goes around in a circle, 2 to the B, 1 to the C, 2 to the D, 2 to the E, 1 to the F. And all you've got to remember is between E and F and B and C, it's always just 1 step. And the other thing to remember is this all goes round in circles. So if you start with an A, it's always A, B, C, D, E, F, G, regardless of where it is on the fretboard. And it works all the way down. So now things are sort of starting to make a little bit more sense. And this graphic, again, shows the E's and the F's and the B's and the C's that are together and where they are positioned on the fretboard. Okay, so then I thought, let's put in all of the sharps and the flats, which completely fills up the fretboard. So what we have here is you've got your major notes, which are the black circles, and then the yellow circles are infilled with all of the sharps. And then I started to notice, which is pretty logical really, that if we learn where our major notes are, the sharps, as you come down the fretboard away from the nut, it's the same letter. So you go from a G down 1 fret to a G sharp. D is down 1 fret to a D sharp, and that follows right the way through. So if you can get your major notes in your head, then the sharps are easy. And then the flats are exactly the same but the other way around. So as you go up the fretboard towards the nut, then it will follow. So if you're on a G, it becomes a G, or you can look at it the other way around. So basically, a sharp always looks at the note to the left, and a flat always looks at the note to the right. So now, suddenly, it's easy to learn where the sharps and the flats are on the fretboard. I've still got to put all this into practice, but the theory is starting to look quite interesting. So then you start looking at the whole of the fretboard, and then you start to realize that things are in groups of 12. Now this became obvious when I was watching a video of something that David Gilmour was doing, somebody was teaching, and the guy said, you know, when you get to the bottom, and he was doing this on a scale as well, when you get to the bottom and you can't go any further down the fretboard, simply jump up 12 frets and then you can start again. So I've mapped this into here. So you've got your E, A, D, G, B, E, and then 12 frets down you've got the same E, A, D, G, B, E, and then it follows again all the way down the fretboard. So now we've only got a small part of the fretboard that we need to learn, not from the neck right the way down. So anyway, I'm going to obviously keep this video because I'm going to be looking back at these graphics, and I may well have them on the screen when I'm practicing. But I hope that you find them useful. I certainly have. It's been really interesting to see these patterns, and I was putting this YouTube video together and all the graphics for this last night. Went to bed and I actually woke up this morning and already things I'm starting to remember. So for instance, the A string is string number 5, and then from that I can lead off to all of the other bits and pieces. So I've got the E string under my belt, I've got the A string under my belt already, and a few of the others. So it's going to be a long process, but yeah, starting to enjoy this. Just can't wait to get the guitar, which still hasn't arrived. Hopefully next video you'll be looking at it. Thanks for watching today. Take care. Bye bye.